Namaste. First, I want to pray for all those who are suffering out there today, that your suffering is eased by the grace of the Lord and that you feel some peace. No, this is not going to work. There's books in the back. I don't want books in the back. I always tell everybody not to read the books, and then here I am sitting in a bookshelf, so it's not going to work. All right, so a student asked a question, and I want to try to answer that question. We'll see if I can still read the question here. The question is, Namaste, I came across your video page through a friend. Perhaps you can address this divided issue of certain gurus teaching their devotees that women must not do puja, must not visit temples, touch murtis or malas, and must stay away from holy people during their menstrual cycle. All the while, they are teaching about self-realization, oneness, and coming out of separate consciousness. In my research, I've come across a few Indian teachers who do not believe in these guidelines, and yet I've found one Divine Mother avatar who promotes this teaching. Seems to me somewhat contradictory for a Divine Mother to prescribe to her daughters that they should not approach her or serve her, i.e., do any sort of public seva for 3 to 5 days during their monthly cycles. Is this ancient belief that is outdated, or are there valid reasons not being shared as to why such recommendations are still being promoted in modern times? I'd appreciate hearing if you have some in-depth information. I just keep coming across people who believe in these guidelines, but no one who really can provide factual reasons for their existence. So this is a good question, and I've wanted to make a video on this subject for a while. We have just canceled one of our yoga classes, or postponed, I should say. One of our teachers is a woman. And there are reasons, in particular with yoga practice, that go beyond the normal reasons, that women don't do that practice at that time. For yoga in particular, the yoga asanas can cause health problems if you don't have good knowledge of your Ayurveda constitution and the balance of the doshas in the body and the effects of the yoga asanas. It can be very easy at that time, because the body is in a weakened state, to cause harm to the body. I want to dispel one myth as well that women in the US have, in particular around the menstrual cycle. Women think that it's normal and that it's common that they should have some pain and they should get very emotional at that time. And that's not true. Ayurveda would teach us that at that time, it's a time of cleansing, and the body is somewhat stressed or weakened in that time. But there need not be cramps or pain, and there need not be emotions. If we think of bowel movements as well, Ayurveda talks about all the functions of the body. Of course, we have some people who are constipated, and they have high vata, and they have anxiety, and they may be grumpy, and they're constipated, and they may have gas and pain when they go to the bathroom. And then there are other people who have high pitta dosha, the fire dosha, and they'll tend toward diarrhea, and they may have anger, and they may have pain in digestion and heartburn and acid reflux. And it's no more appropriate to say that cramps and pain and mood swings are normal for a woman menstruating than it is to say that constipation or diarrhea are normal. All of these things in the digestive system and in the women's reproductive system have become very normal now, because people are not living a healthy lifestyle. But Ayurveda would teach us that for a healthy person there should be no pain. But still, it's wise, as the body is doing this natural cleansing process, for women to rest a little bit. And so that's the first reason that we might not encourage them to go on travels or to do hard work. My first guru taught me a lot about this, and he had a lot of respect for the families in South India, where during that time of the monthly cycle, usually the women at the other times of the month will cook for everybody, and for all the foods that are offered in the puja, the women cook. But at that time of the monthly cycle, the women don't cook and the men will cook for them, and they rest and they recuperate, and they may do some reflection and gentle spiritual practices, singing some bhajans. But the deeper mystical practices, doing puja, doing yoga, doing mantra japa, those are not done at that time. And the reasoning that a lot of people don't understand is that at the time that a person is bleeding, their connection, their body is stressed, and their connection to their physical body is weakened. And the body is stressed, the body itself is weakened, and the defenses are weakened. The immunity of the physical body is weakened, and spiritually, the aura is weakened at that time. And for that reason, people, when they're bleeding, are susceptible to the attack from the inner realms, from asuric, lower astral beings, demonic beings, who may have ill intentions. And for that reason, it's recommended that not only women at the time of their monthly cycle, but men, if they've had an injury or surgery, anyone who's bleeding until they get cured, they shouldn't go to the temple. They shouldn't go to see the guru or the Swamiji. And they shouldn't do mantra japa, they shouldn't practice yoga. And the reason is, these mystical practices open a channel to the inner realm. And when we open that channel, then, and doing seva for the guru is the same. We're cooking food that will be offered in the puja. In South India, they offer all their food before they eat, many families. And so cooking the food at all becomes impossible, because that opens, that seva opens a person to the energy of the puja, which opens up a realm, a channel to the inner realm, I should say. And that can open them to the attack from demonic beings. So in the question, there was a point about duality and ultimate oneness. We do sadhana because we're experiencing duality and we want to come to that state of oneness. We may chant a mantra. We say, Om Namah Shivaya. And we don't say something else. We say, Om Namah Shivaya. We don't say, I hate, I hate, I hate. We don't say, I hate you, I hate this. We don't say, I want to hurt this. Of course we can. But of all these sounds, Om Namah Shivaya has a tendency to bring a person's consciousness to that highest realization of oneness. And other statements will draw people's minds in other directions. And so if we're experiencing that state of duality, it's important that we do practices with wisdom, the way they've been prescribed. There comes a point in your sadhana that maybe it's okay for a woman to continue that practice. I've had a lot of experiences with this. The Ayurveda Shastras talk a lot about possession. And we can be possessed by demons, asuras. We can be possessed by the ancestors, pitris. And that's very common in the West because we're not doing proper funeral rituals anymore. Ayurveda has ways to recognize these things, and it has remedies for these. Usually prayer ceremonies will help with this, but there are various other remedies for these situations. And the Shastras give us some advice about things to avoid. If we want to avoid the attack from demonic beings, sometimes it's just our karma at the time of birth. We may, if they're ancestors whose souls are not at peace at the time of birth or death in the family, there's a channel open. Everyone in the close, immediate family is susceptible. And that's why we have a time of mourning, where people wear white and they're careful not to eat meat and not to do certain practices, and they avoid the temple in that time. This is one reason that when we do a sadhana, before the sadhana, people may shave their head, shave all their hair. And then during the sadhana, if they've made a vow to keep practicing for a month or 2 months, then they don't cut the hair at all. Because when you shave, there's some chance of cutting yourself. And if you're doing all this sadhana, the channel's open. You don't want to put yourself at risk. Other reason it would be that it dissipates energy as you cut the hair, perhaps needlessly. So you see a lot of sadhus with long hair and long fingernails, because they're trying to preserve all that energy. It's just like the practice of brahmacharya. They save that energy, and they build up a superior type of ojas that aids in their sadhana, in their meditation. So the Ayurveda Shastras tell us about certain things we should avoid. They say at the time of sexual intercourse that people may be more susceptible. And for this reason, at certain astrological times, that there's more risk also, they say that you should avoid sexual intercourse. During the full moon phase, there's already a risk. And so during the full moon phase, our Shastras say don't have sexual intercourse. The Ayurveda Shastras teach a lot about this. They say in a cemetery there's more chance of attack from demons and spirits and ghosts, because of course there may be souls not at rest in the cemetery. They say at a crossroads also there's more risk, and at certain times of day that open up a channel. At the sandhya times of sunrise, sunset. Maybe I should go back and say the crossroads, it's because people come together. There's more accidents in a crossroad. There's more traffic, number one, more people leaving energies there. Number two, more accidents. You're driving, and then all of a sudden someone comes out of nowhere. More accidents, difficulties. Maybe a thief would wait in the crossroads in the olden days to stop and attack people and rob them. And so more trauma, more accidents in the crossroads, more negative energies, more dark channels open to the lower astral realm. And so in the cemetery, more ghosts. In the temple where they're making offerings at night time, they say this could be unsafe, potentially. Different places, but different times. The sandhya times when the sun rises, sun sets at midday. And midnight, meaning halfway in between sunrise and sunset. So on the full moon day, if you're trying to get attacked by demons, you could go on full moon day. In the middle of the night, midnight. And this is the best because when it's dark, our perception will be open to the inner realm. And when those demons come, we'll be more likely to be aware of them in some way. And we'll get frightened and become open in that way. So go, if you want to get attacked by demons, go on the full moon day to a crossroads at midnight and have sexual intercourse. And also they say taking a lot of narcotics or being very drunk. You know, cut yourself so you're bleeding, and then drink a lot of alcohol so you're drunk, and you, of course, you lose control of your mind and body when you're intoxicated. And so a lot of people, if you're very sick as well, you could be in danger. That's why people with serious illness maybe should be careful doing yoga and japa. And so that's the traditional reason for that. Our Ayurveda Shastras will tell us that we may see those beings approach, walking as black figures, and as they come in and they possess us, our hair may stand on end. And I've had experiences of this. There was a time I was doing my sadhana, and it came to a point I just continued doing my sadhana all the time. All the time, all the time. And I happened to be walking one night in the middle of the night, and I happened to come to a crossroads, and I was in an area where there were very old buildings and some history of war in that area, the Civil War in the United States. And so there were some souls not at rest. And I saw some ghosts walking around, and I saw some ghosts come in and seize the body. I was chanting Shiva mantras, which are very powerful to open a channel, and they will draw darkness to us and draw darkness out of us, and they'll purge all of our karmas in that way. And so chanting the Shiva mantras, I got possessed by demonic beings, and I continued to chant the Shiva mantras. What else could I have done? And so eventually, in chanting the Shiva mantras, it got cleared. It was a painful, difficult experience, but I was firmly committed to my spiritual practice in those days, so it was not an issue. For some other people, who are not so firmly committed, an experience like that, it starts to cause the mind to go out of control. And when you're possessed by a demon or a spirit of a dead person, they don't get complete control of every action and every thought and every word, but your feelings and your thoughts will be affected. And at times, like the full moon, when you have less control, your actions will be affected more so. And so in the case of many people, it may throw them off of their spiritual path altogether. Most people are not in a place where they can easily accept more pain and suffering into their experience. Sadhus go inside and they face all the inner issues and they work through them. They're ready to face more pain. Their commitment is great. But when we're starting our practice, it's not wise to bring needless pain onto ourselves, because we need to have the strength and the spirituality on the next day to continue our practice, and it's easier if we're not possessed. But there comes a time, if you follow the instructions of your guru's energy will protect you, generally. Of course, you have your karmas you must experience, but generally, if you follow your guru's guidelines, then your guru will take responsibility for you. And so if your guru says, do the puja women on that day that you're menstruating, then that guru probably will shield those women. And that guru will get possessed instead of the women. And that guru will easily deal with it because there's little attachment for the guru. And for the women who have much more attachment and may have that being stuck with them for years, they're saved from that by the grace of their guru. You've got to do what your guru says. But my guru had taught that on that day that the menstruation starts, then for 5 days after that, women should stop all serious practices of Raja Yoga. They should stop Hatha Yoga practice. They should stop mantra japa. They should stop chanting the hymns from the Vedas or the Puranas and the Shlokams. And they should stop doing Havan, stop doing puja. They should not go see the guru. They should not go to the temple. They should not help prepare for the puja. They should not help prepare for the guru to come. They stay away at that time, because the channel that's open could cause them danger if their mind still goes to a place of darkness where they can welcome that. When eventually a person's mind goes beyond that darkness and they're just in a different realm above where the demons are. And if the demons try to come, they don't even see them, because the person's consciousness is soaring above that realm. But when the mind is still going to fear and anger, we put ourselves in great danger if we don't respect the power of these practices. They open a channel for us, and we've got to respect that, and we've got to revere that, and we've got to have an understanding for what it can do. We do a lot of work for people who have gotten open to those dark influence of demons and ancestors very commonly. We do a lot of prayers to help the souls move on of the ancestors and help those people be free from the darkness. A lot of people are suffering a lot. It's often the case of it's the cause of severe mental illness in many cases. So we don't want to bring that on ourselves. If you're really, really set in your sadhana, and you wouldn't give it up if you lost everything in the world, then that's great. But I've seen that when people get possessed, they can lose their job. They start acting crazy. They develop mental illnesses. They can lose their job. They can lose their family. They can start acting out. They can commit crimes and be put in jail. And that may not be beneficial, and it's certainly not necessary. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We don't want to bring up all of our karmas today, because the end of the path will come to it when we're ready by the grace of God. And that may happen in this lifetime if we're very committed, if we're very humble, if we welcome that grace, and we sit patiently, and we work for it, and we don't expect it, and we wait, and we welcome that grace. It may come in this lifetime, or it may come in the next lifetime, or the next. We've got to be very patient and honor God's time. And if we have enough faith to chant the mantras, we should also, and to do the yoga asanas, we should also have an understanding of this and enough faith to follow the instructions of how we do them properly. Woman is not impure. during that time. But her body is weakened. And it's wise for her to rest, and it's wise for her to take a break from the spiritual practice. Some traditions say that the menstrual blood is sacred. And that's a great belief, because other traditions have said that it's dirty, and it's not. But blood is blood. And in the Hindu tradition, if we cut ourselves and we get blood on clothing, or if the woman is menstruating and she gets blood on clothing, we burn those clothes, we get rid of it. Because with the blood negative energies can be there with the blood, because there's pain and there's fear with bleeding sometimes, and there's difficulty, and there's pain in the body, and there's hormones in the body, and it's the physical body. We've got to remember the point of spiritual practice is to transcend the physical. If we have attachments that are negative to something, we should release those. And if we have a positive love for something, then also we should let that thing go, because we're really trying to go beyond the physical, beyond the duality. But to do that, we've got to learn the laws of nature and honor the laws of nature. In the non-dual state, your consciousness soars above the world. But in the body, gravity pulls you down. So you don't jump off a building. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. There's no need to jump off the building and kill your body. It sets you back. You had the body to work on your karmas. Now you lost the body. You have to prepare for the next body, and you have to be reincarnated, and you have to grow from that age of birth to a toddler and learn to speak and learn to say mantras and learn to do your sadhana again. It's a needless waste to kill yourself. In the world, gravity pulls you down. Don't try to defy gravity, because gravity is nature's way. It's God's law. Instead, learn to understand that force of gravity. Learn to see it as it is. Learn to see the beauty in it. And then in your consciousness you will transcend. Om Namah Shivaya.